Hello, welcome everybody to this month's Table Ready live stream. So tonight we're going to be talking about Operation Supercharge, which happened about a week ago. But today we're joined by a very, very special guest who wasn't there. So
One's
we
there,
do
man.
have we do have the Restless Kaiser from Modelling for Advantage. He's joined us. We've been trying to get him onto the show for a while. And we finally managed to do it, but it happened to be on a week that we're talking about stuff that he wasn't there for. But, well, you weren't there, man. You don't understand. You weren't there.
That
Anyway.
is absolutely true.
So I'm Harry from apparently Frock of War this week. And the guy to my side there is, other side there.
Yeah. G'day, Adam from Dice of War.
And
I'm Christian from Painting Panzers.
And Kaiser. Maybe you should tell people who you are.
Yeah, I'm the Restless Kaiser. I'm from the YouTube channel Modelling for Advantage. We cover a huge range of games because I can't settle on any one in particular. But we do play quite a lot of Flames of War. World of Tanks, the miniatures game, and there aren't many people covering that. And occasionally we'll play a little bit of Team Yankee as well. But in addition to that, there's a bolt action and even sometimes a bit of Warhammer. All right. Nice to meet you all.
Oh, well,
Yeah, nice to meet you
we're
too.
really glad that you're aboard.
But
Okay, so has anything done anything interesting over the last month apart from going to Operation Supercharged? Christian, have you put out any interesting videos we should know about?
I've got a couple out, so I've had one on my SEAC Air Force, so I've got a plane that I painted for Burma. I've got a special video coming out tonight, but that's for 20mm figures. But if you're interested in those, there's a special deal that Nick over at Eureka's got for me, so you'll have to watch that and you can partake in that. But other than that, just the usual painting videos.
Great. And that aircraft looked great. I don't know that it's on the slides for tonight, but it really was. It was a Thunderbolt done in the Southeast Asian Command
Yeah.
colours and markings. Really, really, really,
The
really
Razorback as well, which I kind of prefer the Razorback to the bubble top, like an
Yeah.
American iconic one, but yeah, each to their own.
And Kaiser, I've seen a few things from you recently, including the new World of Tanks platoon box sets. You and Johnny B were looking at those.
We opened those up. I think our video came out yesterday. So they changed the packaging, so it's in bright colours now. But
That
yeah,
will help.
Rather than selling them singly, although they are still doing that, there is a Wave 11 coming out in July apparently. But they've started doing them in platoon packs. Interestingly, I remember when they started doing World of Tanks, and you'd commented that they were a handy way of getting single sprues.
Yeah.
The old version of tanks, and a cheap way. Well, now that the prices of the boxes have all gone up, although they're pre-built and they're built in a very simple configuration, if you want bulk, it's not actually that bad. And these platoon packs, although they're platoon only in the way that World of Tanks could consider them a platoon, I think the German one was a Panzer, a Tiger, a Stug, and a Panzer IV. That's not a tank platoon, but all right.
It's not a tank platoon, but
they're not even all tanks.
yeah. So I just wanted to acknowledge who is in the chat at the moment. So Alad's there. So hi, Alad.
Alad.
Kai from Malaysia and Trekan, of course. Trekan's here all the time. So hello to Germany. And James, not sure where James is from, but he's here. And there's a bit of interest because I think a few people hadn't been reading the memos that the Restless Kaiser was coming. But Alad reckons you should do MFA aprons.
The store that we use for our merch does have aprons, but they're white, which I don't think is very good for
Not good for wargaming
at all.
I seem to remember spilling some stuff on me in the last couple of weeks while I've been painting stuff, so no, probably not a good idea.
Yeah, I've been Oh, no, me and Harry were talking about decals, I think, when we were down in Perth. So I've been looking into that, and I might be dipping my toe into decals in the future, as well as dice.
Yeah.
But probably trying to do something. I don't know. We'll have to talk around on the Facebook pages and that sort of thing and see if people are interested in doing a whole squadron.
Yeah.
Or like
Because
instead of
you had some petting house decals that you were going to use for
I did.
SS Viking, and the platoon numbers were not.
Yeah, it was the Gross Deutschland
Yeah.
Panthers at Kursk.
Yeah.
And I bought them off eBay. Thought, oh yeah, that's exactly what I want. Great. And I just didn't look too hard at the numbers. And then when I got the numbers, or got the decals, I'm like, these numbers are all wrong for the German tank marking. So instead of having like, second company, first platoon, first tank, which would be 211, they had 201, which is the HQ for the company, not the first sub. So I'm like, well, that's annoying. So, and I've seen them, other places have done the same thing. So I'm like, well, why not get it right?
And Christian sent me very kindly an out-of-production set of Commonwealth decals that I didn't get around to use for the 9th Australian Divisional Cavalry.
Yep.
But again, we found out there are no black War Department numbers for British forces. It's like there's a couple of white ones on the late war ones, but there's no black ones for the desert. I had not even imagined that they wouldn't be there. So yeah, this decal thing has been kicking around that we might look to design some of those up.
It's like the same with the vehicle numbers as well, right? Because like I was looking for an S for my priests, like a S registration, and there's like non-existent. So kindly Adam sent me a US one, so I just cut the S off. And
it had USA did it. I said, well, just cut the US.
Cut
the US, the S off, and then put a digital 2 off, and boom, you're done. Yeah, so I did and that worked.
You cut his S off. Oh, that's always terrible tragedy. Oh dear. So should we have a look at the slides and start going through how it all went? Or should we do the hands up who won? Yep. So yeah, Adam managed to pull off a win. So let's see how that happened.
Definitely
rigged.
Definitely rigged. Special dice. Yeah.
Recount.
Yeah. But we all had a great time, didn't we, gang?
It was a good event. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we usually do. Well, we always have good events, but I mean, I thought this one was. Everyone was especially good and chill, and there were no rules lawyers and all that sort of stuff. So.
And it was really hard when we came to pick who was the best sport because, I mean, Elliot won in the end, and that's right. But I mean, everybody I played was great, so it's like very hard.
We need to do a shout out to Elliot if he's watching this or if he does watch this again. The amount of terrain this guy brought was just insane.
Oh yeah, absolute MVP for Elliot. Yeah. But it was just great to see everybody. So might go on to, there we go. So shout out and thanks to Battlefront and Aetherworks, the Battlefront Australian supplier who provided prize support. Yeah. Just thought it would be politic for us to mention that they looked out for us when we told them that we were doing stuff.
I've actually found recently, in my experience as a TO, that they're a lot better and more proactive about providing support for tournaments, and at least in Australia anyway. And I feel that that's something they're going to work on in the future to improve, I guess. I think, they've done a really good job here. I'm not saying it was bad, but basically, I think it's been great.
And the great thing about your tournaments, Adam, is everyone I've been to, at least anyway, everyone walks away with something. I mean, obviously, because we're smaller, I suppose, but the fact that everyone gets something as well, that's just such a nice touch. So, you know, you're not only going there to game, you actually are walking out with something. Yes, you have to pay to get in, but you're getting that money back with a model or
Oh, you
Yeah.
were
Whatever.
giving stuff away. I just grabbed something and ran away at the end.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Sorry.
Yeah.
In fact, you
Yeah.
can see me in that group shot hiding down the back with
Yeah.
Corey
Yeah, he's got something
by
on
the
him.
Space Marine.
Yeah.
Yeah, got something stuffed up my Hawaiian shirt,
Yeah, that's it.
hoping nobody will notice.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I do try to do that because I mean,
Yeah.
we can do that at a small tournament, and there's a reasonable. It's not expensive, it's not cheap tournament entry fee, but I mean everyone walks away with something at the end of the day, which I think, apart from having 3 great games, then you know you get something for your trouble too.
Mm.
No. So, Kaiser, you and I have spoken in the past a little bit about your experience with tournaments, because if you have a look at this photograph, everybody's having a good time that day, except for the staff you can't see just out of shot who were like, can you guys just fuck off and go home? We want to close. So how does that compare with your experience with tournaments?
Yeah, I was thinking about this because I knew you were talking about tournaments. I think tournaments are often. I can't speak for every game. I've never actually played in a Flames of War tournament. I know they do run them, especially Battlefield Hobbies do one, which Alan often talks about. They do regular events. But I've been for several other games, like Bolt Action, Warhammer, and so forth. And to be honest, in the UK, they're shark tanks. They are not nice places to be.
Whoa.
They're not. And I don't know precisely why that is. I think like tournaments are very big in other parts of the world. But then there's in the UK, there's tournament players, and then there's everybody else. And a lot of people have maybe tried it at some point and got stung quite hard. And presumably, similarly at your end, if you go to a tournament for the first time, you probably are going to get caned. You are going to lose hard because you're playing against a tough field, especially in the early games until you move down to the lower end of the hall where the less skilled players are.
Interestingly, sorry, I'm just popping up a comment there from Osaka, who is actually Ben, who was at the tournament, and it was his first Flames of War tournament, and yes, I did seal club him, so yes, that does happen.
And you bully.
Sorry, Ben. Yeah, I'm a bully.
Bully, Harry.
I am.
But I think it's not just that. I think there's something about the way tournament play takes it. It's just significantly more intense. I think there's and I don't know. I don't really know why it should be that way.
I'd agree. So look, I first started playing tournaments 2000 something Warhammer Fantasy, and tell you what, the amount of neckbeards and guys that just cheat, they seem to be in that, and 40k as well. And then I stopped playing fantasy because they killed it, and I got all upset, and then I started playing Flames of War. So the first couple of tournaments I went to that, I had a good time, but there were a few guys in that were definitely very serious players about their events. Yeah. And that's cool. You can play like that. And there's a couple of guys that they were good players, but they were actually fun to play against. Even if you lost, you had a good time. Yeah. Then there were other guys that you would play against that if they weren't winning, they weren't happy. So they'd take it out. You'd be like, you actually feel bad for doing well in the game. That's how they'd make you feel. And you're like, hang on, like, is this how it should be? And then with the change from version 3 to version 4, a lot of those sort of hardcore tournament guys left. And I think basically because all their little favorite units and tricks and meta lists that they liked in version 3 were no longer in version 4.
They're all gone.
And they'd lost their toys that they could seal club people with. So they went to other ones. So then when I started running the Flames of War events at the Nationals in Australia, I consciously made a decision not to make it so much of a pressured event. Like, it was fun, we'd have we would have more time in between games to go shopping. We'd make it more of a fun event.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I like to foster in my tournaments. But I would agree, Kaiser, given some of the people that I know play in the UK in Flames of War, you're probably still going to get some of those people, but not as much. I think they've found other ones to go to. But I have heard the Americans, they have this weird Masters system, like the green shirts with the golf.
All right.
And I've never been to America, but I've heard from a lot of guys that play in America that that's that old style of I'm a green shirt, I'm hot shit.
Do you get a ring if you win?
I do. I don't know, but I think each place sort of does it different. But that's not the kind of environment I like to foster, I would say.
So I've never played any tournaments in the Eastern States or anywhere else because I know the Asian Team Championships in Singapore are happening again reasonably soon. So shout out to Ben, and if there's anybody who wants to go to ATC, I think the nominations for that are opening if you want to make a team. But I've never done any of that, and part of it is Western Australia is really big. So Adam, how far do you live away from Perth?
1,600 kilometres.
Yeah, and I'm 350 south of Perth. So for us, I had to leave to go to the tournament on the Tuesday before because there was some stuff I needed to go to and what have you. And you had to fly down and stay in a hotel, and it's a significant move for us. But that's the only time I get to play. I don't know about you. I think I've played about 3 non-tournament games of Flames of War since I started in about 2014.
Even for me, living in Perth, my first event was a tournament. Like my first time I ever played Flames of War was at a tournament, and that was in version 3. And for a while there, all I was doing was playing tournaments. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know the rules. I didn't have the rule book, really. I mean, I had the tiny little A5 rule book. But the guys were so welcoming. They were encouraging of new people, and it's always been the same. So it blows my mind to think, but I can imagine it, that it would be different. But I'm sheltered. I've only done Flames of War tournaments, and I've only done them in Perth. I've not done anything else anywhere else, sort of thing.
I mean, when we turn up to a tournament, it's a case of, oh wow, Corey, haven't seen you in ages, and oh Jacob, you know what really cool hat are you going to wear this time around?
You can hear the laughing from each table, and like cheering, and everyone gets around it. It's always in good spirits. I've never seen somebody like get frustrated or leave in anger or get upset with somebody, and
But even when they're playing, I mean, it's things like you measure it out and you go, oh, I'm like a half an inch short for that unit, and it's like, but well, you still had movement left. You would have moved them into range, just they're in range, close enough.
That's definitely not how UK tournaments would go.
Oh, okay.
You still have half an inch of movement left. No, mate. Movement phase is over.
We did that a few times with, it's just a Nats Willie out. No, that'll do. It's fine. It's in range. We had one where it was like we couldn't work out whether line of sight was through the woods, and it's like 1, 2, 3 it is, 4, 5, 6 it isn't.
Yeah.
Turns out it was through the woods, and it just kept running.
Yeah, I think that's when you get some really good players. Like even at tournaments, there's guys that'll argue about that. But instead of having a 5-minute argument or a 10-minute argument, wasting time and getting pissed off, a good player or an experienced player will go, all right, I think it's this way, you think it's this way. I don't want to bother the TO with this. Let's just roll the dice. 1, 2, 3, it's this. 4, 5, 6, it's this, and then move on.
Did we have any stuff get referred to a TO?
No, not in there.
No.
Last time, I think there was a slight rules query, but everything was pretty good. And look, I've played with very, very good tournament players that go to the ETCs over at the East Coast, and generally they're really nice to play with as well. I think the guys that are kind of real assholes kind of get forced out. eventually. Usually, not all the
I had a
time.
particular game, even in this tournament, where it was like the sake of like a millimeter, where he was that close, a millimeter from the objective or something, or it was millimeter. It was in whatever it was, the distance. He
Yeah.
was just in, but he went, "Oh no, I've lost," and we shook hands. And then I said, "No, hang on, let's measure this properly, because why
Yeah.
end the game early? Let's just play. Like that's what I've
Yeah.
come here
Yeah.
to do. I don't care if I ended up losing the game, but I had a great time doing it. So why not? You know,
Yeah.
I don't
Alan's saying
understand that mentality.
it's when the measuring sticks come out on the table I start to consider my life choices. Yeah, fair enough. Oh dear. But I mean, it's just fun to rock up, see everybody, look at their armies and the effort people have put into painting their armies, or
Terrain
Yeah,
in
no
Elliot's
terrain.
case.
Yeah. So
But I wonder if knowing everybody, pretty much knows everybody at the event,
yeah,
you know really who the top few players are, who's likely to win that is from one of two or three people, right? So in a lot of the games, the pressure just isn't there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
Whereas
it
I
was
think if you
really
go to
funny.
like a 40-man event where you know
Yeah.
one other person,
Yeah.
the pressure's on from game one.
Yeah.
If you want to win it,
Actually,
Yeah.
there was a really nice Italian bloke called John who used to come to the tournaments, and he and I would always play our third game against each other because we were both hopeless. So we'd play against all the other players and we'd fall down the rankings until John and I got to have an old buggers game at the end where we would just sit there and roll some dice and forget half the rules and spend time complaining about old bugger things to each other. And we were really looking forward to it because both of us were tired by the end of the day, and it's like, roll some dice. Yeah, close enough. We're all good. I kind of miss that John doesn't turn up anymore.
Yeah. So, Pans and Paints is in the comments here, and
Yeah.
that's a friend that I used to play with over in New South Wales. And I remember I think it was one of my first Flames of War tournaments. And yeah, look, it was a good game. I was crap. He won, but he made it. It was a pleasurable experience. You know,
Yeah.
no one got pissed off. Everyone had a good game, and then we shook hands and whatever.
And that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes you learn. I remember your and my first game was a tournament before last. And I charged straight at you with IS-2s and you snuck around down my flank with some Stuarts and grabbed the objective because I didn't have enough guys holding the other objective. And it was beautiful to watch.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there going, wow, I'm going to lose this. But yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I really learnt something about that. And it was beautiful to watch you play.
Yeah, sometimes you've got to just realize that I can't do anything about those, and I'm just going to ignore them or avoid them. Like people go, "Oh, Tiger 2's in late war, they're horrible. You can't do anything about them." Like, well, okay, choose. You can't do anything about them, then mitigate them, ignore them, feed them something that you don't care about, but they'll distract. That sort of thing. So
I just had this experience myself because of the late war training company and played several games.
Yeah, we were discussing that earlier.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting to watch though how for my opponent, because we are national partisan. James plays Soviets, I play Germans, John plays.
Oh right, yeah.
It's partly because we play a lot of games to try and build a bit of knowledge. If you just pick an area, you'll get better at that.
Mm-hmm.
So, because of James, I played mid-war against mid-war Soviets. So he's used to having the KVs and so forth. It's like, stop whining about this King Tiger. Every game we play in the mid-war is the other way around to this.
Because you're up against his KVs with what?
Yeah.
Panzer 4s and Panzer 3s?
Panzer 3s and Panzer 4s, yeah. Yeah, I've played the I can't penetrate your tank game loads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, the shoe's
Anyway.
on the other foot now.
It is. No,
Yes, look at these pictures.
Yeah, let's do some of that. Just seeing the beautiful miniatures on the table. So I thought we'd start off with the winner. So this is, I think that's your first game, is it, Adam?
It is. That's versus Elliot, actually. So he had some lovely Americans that was it was a shame that I had to shoot them up. So we've got some smoking Stuarts there that were snacks for Panthers. With I've got some beautiful Lush there that are painted by Panther. Frank painted those for me. And
you
those
got stuff painted by Frank. Man, I'm jealous now.
I know. I got to see it in the flesh. I was so happy.
Yeah, he does very good work. But yeah, so what's happening here is my Panthers are coming down a flank. He's got some priests and some Stuarts there that were trying to attack my Grenadiers that were trying to get through a minefield up out of view. And the Panthers just started blasting poor old Stuarts. And then the Lush started to munch on some priests. And those planes actually took out, I think, killed one Lush, I think, that turn or maybe the next turn, and then bailed the other. And I was very worried that they were going to run off. But they hung around.
They stuck
because
around.
they got a horrible motivation score. But that was a really good game. That was a fun game. He had lots of dug-in US armored rifles and paras in buildings holding objectives, and I'm like, oh, what am I going to do here? There's just so many dug-in infantry. But I just picked an objective, which was the hardest one, but it had the smallest amount of infantry. So it had paras in a building around, well, not all of the building, some were outside. A unit of mortars just sat on that building the whole game. All they were doing was repeat bombarding into that, whittling them down. Some German grenadiers snuck up into a church nearby so they could assault. And, Panthers started blasting away. And the only thing I think Elliot could have done better was he should have sprung his ambush of the M10s on the Panthers earlier. But I think he was waiting for me to come sort of go that way, the other way. Yeah. That way. Yeah. And have the M10s pop up on the flank of them, but I wasn't letting that. So he popped them up, and then the Panthers bounced all the shots and then ate some M10s.
There's nothing worse than premature ambush.
Yeah. Well, it was getting too late. He had to start. He had to let his ambush go. Otherwise, he was going to lose it. Then it's going to be late. There's nothing that's bad too.
While I was cropping this picture down so that everybody could see everything, I noticed that those are US aircraft, but they seem to have RAF tail flashes on the back. I hadn't noticed.
Maybe it was like a timeshare.
Maybe it is a timeshare. So,
you couldn't decide if you wanted US or...
Maybe they landed on a British base and somebody snuck out and painted some stuff on them. You know, that
possibly.
That kind of happens.
Yeah. But no, it's a good game. Yeah.
Yeah. And Elliot was a great opponent.
Lovely fella.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Kaiser, I was just going to ask, do you know Frank from Panzerschule? He's based in Scotland.
I don't know him, but I've seen his channel.
Yeah. That's kind of what I meant.
Everyone in England knew everyone.
I'm not doing that everybody knows everybody because it's a small island thing, but I'm going... YouTubers in related hobbies.
Yeah.
Have
I've seen some of his content. Yeah.
Okay. Oh dear, but I mean, you don't do a bad job on the old paintwork yourself, there, Adam, because these are your Panther Ds for Cursed that you painted up.
Yeah, I've done not a bad job. I was a bit worried they're a bit dark, but I think Christian sort of said no, he thinks about the right colouring.
Yeah, they were fine.
I've come to enjoy them a lot more.
And you did a lot of edge highlighting on that, which is I'm kind of stuck with the old technique of give it a heavy wash and then dry brush the crap out of it, kind of. This edge highlighting thing's all a bit subtle for me.
I think it came from my fantasy 40k kind of background, where you don't really dry brush, so you do a lot of edge highlighting, and I just kind of put that into my.
But dry brushing hides all my painting mistakes. That's why I like it.
See, I have spent probably too long painting things so it doesn't look like I've made a mistake when I actually have lots, and then just paint it over it again. And then the edge highlighting seems to take that away too. Like you kind of don't focus on paint, the main surface so much, and the edge highlights kind of take away from that as well. So yeah.
And Kaiser, do you have a particular style between those?
Style? You mean how I paint my
A
tanks?
painting style, yes. Yeah, I wasn't talking about any other kind of like dancing style.
I've got natural rhythm, if you must know. And rhythm is a dancer.
Mrs. Kaiser has said that before. Yeah.
I'm very straightforward. So this is a bolt action tank. I put a base color down. I cover the whole thing in a brown wash, like Army Strong Tone or something, and then overbrush to get that original color back.
Right.
I know that uses more paint, but I actually find that's less time consuming than pin washing, a lot less. But it's the same effect, effectively.
So Sub says your style is not to paint the underneath. Oh dear, no. Mine die too often. I have to paint the bottoms because that's what people see the most of. That's why you need the smoke.
That's why you need the fire flame.
Yeah. That does look nice.
So yeah,
have you seen those ones that like glow in the? They have like a little LED inside.
Yeah, John made some. You
just make them around the tea candle. Yeah,
and put it inside a big bundle of that.
Yeah.
Bloody asbestos fibers or whatever it is that they give you.
God, I hope not.
That looks a lot like it, Harry. It's like
probably is. Yeah.
And Christian, you've been known to do some painting too. What's your style?
Oh, mine's mine's a little bit different. So base coat, pin wash, but I use enamel wash. I think Adam, you use acrylic, don't you?
I do. I use GW washes. Agrec Earth, Shane and Old Oil are the bestest things they've ever made.
Bottle talent, mate.
Yeah, I use the enamel, but I make it a pin wash because I hate the cleanup process. So when you pin wash with enamel, there's very little cleaning involved.
I was going to say, don't you have to tidy up anyway a little bit? Or
you do, but you just get a cotton bud. You don't even need to use thinners half the time. You can just use a dry cotton bud, and it will get all the excess spillage out of the.
Yeah, see, I just feel it's too easy to do that, so I do it the hard way. Not that I've just never been brave enough to actually do that, but yeah.
I just refuse to do more than 3 steps. So all this gloss coating shit, and do some enamels and then gloss coating back over.
That's pretty much it.
No, can't do it.
How
very
long?
Time consuming.
How long does it take with a tin of enamel paint open before your children start getting high?
I have just finished doing my armor painting video that I'll put up over the rest of the weekend somehow. And part of what I did was I actually cracked out my old Humbrol enamels because I had to match the colors from some previously painted stuff. And man, that was a mistake. Like, they are all going in the bin.
Even with your new thumb sucker device that you've got?
Yeah, that doesn't work when you crack the tin open and there's a skin across the top. And a lot of these things are like 40 years old. They have lead in them, They level really, really well. But yeah, they're completely toxic. Sub says, remember kids, don't drink meths.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, in the 1970s and 80s, that was all I had, man. That was my life. Oh, dear. Oh, look. Here's some stuff. Oh. And the edge highlighting on that grey, on those half tracks, was absolutely the business. That was beautiful.
I think I found the perfect mix for German Panzer Grey and Flames of War scale. I've written it on the forums a couple of times. So,
have you?
What is it? Oh, sorry.
Is that a hand-painted divisional logo on that half track?
Oh, no. Decals. Yeah. No, I'm not that good. Yeah.
We need to make teeny tiny stencils so that we can just spray them on.
Spray straight on.
But, man.
This is how I as I said to Harry when we played it, I said, I actually haven't done a lot of half track mounted assault in tournaments, and
seem to work okay.
They work the business, especially mid-war when you don't have a lot of there's no Panzerfaust, there's no Panzer Shreks, there's bazookas, but you avoid those. That's why I didn't assault Elliot with the half tracks in his game, because I knew I'd get bazookaed to death.
Whereas I only had bloody sticky bombs there,
Yeah, and you kept on missing.
and they all missed.
Yeah,
You didn't blow yourself up.
Yeah,
then, that's
at
good.
least in version 4 you don't blow yourself up, because I've done that. Like I've blown up enough guys in the unit that they break and run, and it's like, oh, okay.
the Italians used to have the Passaglio bombs, which were Molotov cocktails, basically same thing. Yeah, about those sticky bombs, I think hopefully when the dynamics points change, what they do is they either make the sticky bombs cheaper, or the Panzerknackers or whatever, or they make them last the whole game if you're going to pay 2 points for them. I think there's too much at the moment, especially.
So what do? They give you anti-tank 3 and assaults for one unit for one turn. So it's discarded once you've used it.
For the whole turn. But still, once you've used it, that's it. It's gone.
Yeah. But it's, what was it, 3 versus side armor or top armor? I remember you had to roll like a 1 for me to kill you and a 2 for me to bail you.
Yeah, it's your top.
And you didn't roll anything like that.
No, I didn't. So, like, even when I was assaulting your machine guns, which are maybe a turn or 2 turns before this, you have your machine guns, 4 of them. I think you hit me 16 times.
Yeah.
And AP2, but my armor was
I got one hit.
Yeah,
one hit went through.
Yeah, and you didn't, and it wasn't enough. You had to do at least 3, I think, 2 or bail 2 or something.
Well, you mounted assault, so I'd have to bail 2. So and you can't do that with 1 hit with 303 caliber ammunition. You just can't.
So they just munched into them, and then they started munching into these guys. And
I did beat that assault off, though. You had to break off and come back.
Yeah,
but
and
I mean, there weren't a lot of guys left after you finished munching through them.
And there was nothing that could hurt them. They're all on the other side. So I think...
Yeah, because I did suffer from premature ambush. I popped my 17-pounders way too early that particular game and stuck them on the wrong side.
The 6-pounders could have done the job by themselves, and they did.
And they probably, fine.
But,
well, it's. I think I was saying to the Kaiser earlier that I lost my 2nd and 3rd games in the tournament during deployment. Like when I go back and look at it, I left, the machine guns were on the extreme left flank. I had a platoon of infantry on the extreme right flank. I had a big area and I tried to defend it all. And you just assaulted both ends. The units were unsupported, munched them up, and then you were on the objective. So, no, it was...
One
I
of my
could see
biggest
afterwards, like, it didn't work.
One of my biggest takeaways for Brits, whilst you're talking about that, is I swear 2 HMG platoons are amazing for the Brits. Just the fact that they're so maneuverable and you get, whatever it is, 24 dice if you take 4. And per 2 platoons, it's just... And they're so cheap as well.
And,
no good against half tracks, though.
No good against half tracks, no. But then Brits have really cheap recce vehicles that would have dealt with those half tracks
really cheap tanks as well.
Yeah, and cheap tanks.
Would you say in the machine guns, are they really much cheaper than just getting 4 tanks with a machine gun on?
I don't know. I thought they were like 4
much
points.
higher rate of fire.
So
you get 6 shots with each gun in the Vickers MMG platoon.
They're also... the British ones, the Vickers have an artillery attack, which I think is kind of useful. A lot of people don't use. So it's like a mortar. So you can just suppress things, like keep artillery pins so they can't bombard or something and things like that.
I
would start dug in.
Yeah.
So you can't just
They start dug in, but I would pay the points, since you guys have now convinced me to think about command cards, to put them in universal carriers. Because the problem I found with my force was it wasn't mobile enough. So I screwed up my deployment twice, and then they weren't mobile enough for me to do anything about it. Whereas the game that we'll look at in a minute that you played with Corey, he had 6-pounder Portees, so he could move them around.
Portees.
Well, let's move on and have a look at that. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. So those Panthers aren't there; they're in reserve.
Oh, okay.
Yep. The Panzer Grenadier, the Panzer Grenadier platoons on that objective. The HQ's behind. Well, HQ's in the half track next to the grills. He's got some HMGs on the objective up the back. Next to the portees in that shed, he's got some a rifle platoon, a full rifle platoon of Aussies, angry Aussies, and some 6-pounder portees there. And those things, they sniped the. I thought I was hidden. I wasn't. They sniped one of the grills. The whole platoon. The other one went, no, see you later. And those things then started sniping because they got 28-inch range. I thought they had 24 because I'm an idiot. And they've got 28, and they started sniping my 7.5 251 half tracks on the other side. They were causing a real lot of trouble for me, and they're very mobile. Yeah, right. If they've got a 4+ truck save, so they're not too survivable, but they're very annoying, and I definitely would take some if I were playing Brits.
Oh, I'm currently 3D printing some because I haven't been able to buy any for ages. So I've printed 3 out of 4 so far. So we've got a few comments I want to chuck up here.
Sure.
So I think Subs is giving me a hard time for talking about dice and how stuff worked and what have you.
It's a Red Dwarf quote. Did you not,
is it?
not recognise it?
Oh, no, I don't. No.
Rimmer, the obnoxious prig in Red Dwarf, has a booklet of his games of Risk.
Oh,
and then and it's like, and he's telling them stories of old Risk games. And then of course I rolled a 6 and a 3, and he rolled a 4 and a 1. He's like, oh my god.
We've left sides of Rimmer, sir.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. 100% successful mission. But we've left sides of Rimmer. Yes, 100% successful mission.
So Trekan's saying, who wants to defend everything defends nothing? Yes. I got caught with that because I had 2 entire table quarters that I could deploy into.
That's
and
a
what
shitty. I hate.
But what I should have done is just left most of it, because after you place the objectives, it's like that's where you defend. Nobody gives a shit about that hill that I stuck a whole bunch of infantry on top of. It's like, what were they doing there? And Michael is saying, hindsight is a great tool for rethinking how the deployment and opening moves might have worked. Yeah, and that's how I'm trying to become a better player. And part of it is, I've been doing this hobby for years, but I think I've only played about 30 games all up, because I can only play when we go to tournaments. So I'm still kind of learning.
Yeah. And, usually you learn all your best lessons is when you get smacked.
Yeah.
And you remember those ones too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, and Subs also says, defend the mess tent at all costs.
Yep, agreed.
Which is a very important, Yeah, so, I mean, that would have been an interesting, it's quite open in the middle there around those train tracks. So there's some good lines of sight happening there where you'd have to be hiding behind stuff. Yeah.
I think I had Lush run all the way over the table to take care of those portees finally.
Yeah,
with the zippy moves. But, yes, and it was, Corey's always a great fellow to play against. You always have a great time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We love Corey lots.
Yeah, and it wouldn't matter if I had won or lost. I still would have had a great game with him.
Yeah. That is absolutely true. No, it was good to see everybody who turned up. So, who was next in the order of winners? Would that have been you, Christian?
I was third. All right, I wasn't second. I was third.
It was actually, I didn't tell you guys, it was actually equal second.
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
You did.
I did it?
Right.
Okay. Memory's great.
I just missed out. Yeah, just missed out.
Didn't you have a slap fight or something to figure out who actually won? You did that kind of...
Yeah. But you'll notice that I also don't paint the underneath of my tanks as well. So
because it's a pro move, mate.
That's it.
Why waste precious pigment on that? No,
I think it's actually a mark of confidence that you're not going to be turning them over as often.
So this particular shot was against Mark's US Armored Rifle Company, and you can see my Gurkhas are charging at the objective. So we just managed to capture that one in the nick of time before all of those M10s wiped out the rest of the priests, because there was absolutely no other armor on that table's edge.
What killed the those tanks there?
Oh,
So
that's
that's the next shot. Yeah.
there we
So
go.
all those
So
mid-war
yeah,
monsters.
M27s,
I
mid-war
will
monsters.
say I am so impressed. These were actually grants, but I used Lee's because that's what the 14th Army were using at the time. But they're actually grants. But either way, they were amazing. So for mid-war, if you play British, I would highly recommend taking these. The fact that they get the secondary roll for their gun, that came in handy so many times.
I was going to say, I heard somebody saying that you were doing amazing things with that second gun roll every time.
So my first ones, which had that high AT rate of fire of 2, were failing. They weren't doing anything. Then the lower AT, so it was harder to get that killing shot, were penetrating and hitting the firepower. It was a 1+ extra firepower gun, and yeah, they were doing the trick. So I really love these. So for mid-war, they're an absolute must in my opinion, from what I've learned. But in this particular shot, the Stuart actually took out one of the mid-war monsters on this table edge. So he was definitely the MVP of that particular game.
So did
Quick
your guys
question
come
there.
in from reserve? Yeah, Kaiser?
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Just with you, just from the way you describe what happened there, the way that Top Gun works on the Grant then and the Lee, do you fire it completely separately after you've revolved the fire of all the whole guns?
Yeah.
Or
So
is that...
the rule is that you can pick which one you want to fire, but obviously you're going to fire the one that's got the higher AT. So for me that was the lower gun. But then because it's got a secondary weapon, you can fire it at a rate of 1. So the rate of fire of 1, so you get 1 shot. So you get an extra 3 shots. So even if you're moving these, your better gun gets a rate of fire of 1, but then you still get that second rate of fire, but it's just at a lower AT because the gun's smaller on the top.
But you
Does
don't...
it have slow firing when you move so that you get a +1 to hit, or?
I don't believe the grants had slow firing. The rule
Okay,
from the
cool.
rule book, from memory, it's literally just it goes to +1 if you're shooting a secondary weapon.
Sorry, Kaiser, I jumped in there on top of you. What were you going to say?
No, that's I was just kind of... I suppose what I was wondering was, from the way you were describing it, it felt like you fired all of the whole guns, looked at the results, then took another sort of almost separate round of shooting, rather than have to declare the targets all at once. Is that how that works?
Yeah,
Are you seeing the difference?
Yeah. So I'd say I'm shooting at the Shermans, and then I'd roll them, and then
Yeah.
I'd roll the next lot. So it's
Yeah.
always at the one target. It was never like
Yeah.
I'm now going to shoot them. But I don't know in the rules if it says you can't do that.
You can shoot at a second target, but I believe there's a lessons from the front or something that it's a +1.
Okay.
I know it's covered somewhere. I have seen somewhere a rule that says if you're not shooting at the same target, there's some implication. I'd be willing to be wrong on that, but I just have a vague memory that that's a rule. That's going to be something I'm going to have to run off and look up once we're done.
They were just brilliant. I'd highly recommend taking them.
Yeah, they're not cheap
But
though, are they?
Were they? No, they're
18 points for 3, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. So they've come down a
guys,
bit then.
This was for dynamic points.
Yeah, dynamic
so
points
it
has dropped the
20.
points on them.
Yeah. But these guys took out Stugs, early Stugs, Panzer 4s, Panzer 3s, whatever these are. I think they're T28s or something.
M27s.
M27s, T28s. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right. There's some interesting comments happening at the moment. Spamerai is getting a bit heated, but it's not a Sherman. I think we've touched a mid-war monster nerve there.
So the secondary weapon is a separate shot at the same or different target.
There you go.
And it gives you a ratify 1 and an additional +1 to hit.
Right,
okay. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on. Oh, there you are. So it's Gurkhas versus Soviet Rifle Company.
So this is the mission that I was speaking about where I lost it, but I was like within a B stick of winning. So basically there was a big fight for this house, and I just, same as sort of tactic as Adam, I just artilleried the hell out of it, and then I sent my British infantry in, and British infantry in mid-war have got fantastic assaults. So they went in, assaulted the building, took out the Russians. The Russians retreated, but within that retreat, they obviously went back a certain distance. I finished the rest of them off in the next one, but then he moved his KVs just round in the nick of time to prevent the win. And then
And
there
they
was
all
no
had-
way I was getting them off.
Yeah. They all had tank riders on the back of them too. They looked beautiful.
They were awesome.
Yeah, they looked lovely.
Jared did an awesome job on
And with
those.
little red flags and
Yeah.
all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
I'll say my takeaway from this was I managed to bail 2 of the KV5s with very little armor to penetrate them, or 80 to penetrate them.
KV1?
So I was pretty happy.
KV5, I
KV.
think you'd have a hard time.
No, sorry, not
penetrating.
KV. Was it KV5s?
No.
KV5s were banned at the tournament because I was going to take
Oh,
them.
were they?
I was
I'm
threatening
not
to
good
take
with
them.
I'm not good with my
That's
tanks,
all right.
so I apologize. KV something or another. It had armor of 9 or something, and my 80 was
KV1.
10. Yeah.
Spammerai says this is some very old-looking Team Yankee.
Yes.
Oh, dear. Oh, and James says, multi-turret tanks, gotta love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm
so
trying to
good,
keep up
everyone
on the
abandoned the
comments.
idea.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
yeah. What were those
Different
German
targets are
ones?
okay,
that
plus
they,
one. Yeah,
that they
thanks,
invaded,
Ali.
they invaded Finland with the
Oh,
German
the
multi-
new production vehicle. I'm not going to try and
The-
pronounce it in German
the
without a run-up.
Google.
Yeah, the new Faber something or other.
Yeah.
Trekan's ears would bleed. Sorry, man.
Yeah, sorry,
I'm
man.
not going to do that to you.
Nibbles, I don't know. Yeah.
No, Nibtharing something, because
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so what do we got next?
Something.
And this was just taking points for the sake of it, because there was no way I was going to win the game. So I just went and killed a load of these smaller tanks.
Makes you feel better, doesn't it, when you do that?
Yeah,
Just,
yeah. That only took one round of shooting to get rid of all of them. So I was pretty
Yeah.
happy with that.
Yeah.
Take that, little puny tanks that I.
This, however, I seem to remember this was one of the last games that was running at the end of the tournament. And
Yeah, so this-
everybody was hanging around watching it because this was
particular
an
game,
absolute slugfest.
I actually shook Jacob's hand and said, "No, you've won. I haven't got enough time." And then Adam said, "No, you still got half an hour." So I was like, "All right, let's do this. Let's see if we can actually
Play it
pull
out.
off the win." And it all revolved around, he was on my left flank. He had killed everything I had on my left flank. So my Shermans were on the left and a few other things, priests, I think. He killed all of them. So it was a race to the objective. I was on his objective. He was on mine. And I managed to pull the win. So this is the build up to that. And then this is the carnage.
Yeah, this is the carnage. Like, this was
Yeah.
units were coming in and, yeah, you know, things were getting minced and then things were running out of buildings and assaulting other things.
And he kept rolling really good reserves, so they were coming in on the right side for him. So it was like, oh, I've got to have to deal with them. I can't just take the objective. And I never beat Jacob. It's normally either a draw or he beats me. So to beat him in this one, it was, it was satisfying. Just by the skin of my teeth, I got there in the end. But yeah, it was a good game. I remember everyone sort of standing around, like, watching. Yeah. It was good.
Yeah, no, it was good. Alrighty. Me. So I'm going to go through mine fairly quickly because... So this is me seal clubbing Ben. Sorry, Ben. He had a really interesting force. And as you can see from the Nimbrons down the bottom there, they were beautifully painted. So these are 3D painted Hungarian tanks.
Yeah, 3D printed.
3D printed, sorry. That he had. So he's got little Nimrod
could have painted them 3D.
anti-air thingies.
If I didn't have glasses. He could have painted them 3D. I didn't have the
Yeah, I
glasses.
don't know. Yeah.
Did he print this stuff himself, or does he get someone to do it? 'Cause
No,
it
he
looks
had
really
it
nice.
printed. Yeah, it looks really nice. He said he had it printed somewhere. Somebody,
print shop.
Spammerai saying, "Oh, Hungarian Shermans." Yep.
Yes.
No, so this is one of the few times my armor actually came on from reserve. Oh, Trekan saying Finland.
Yes.
You're talking of the new buff.
Yes. Them ones.
Yes, that thing.
Yep.
You get
yeah.
ready to go, Harry. That counts.
Neubaufahrzeug, I
Yeah.
think.
Sounds about
Stands
right.
for new production vehicles, so I usually call that. Ben, who's actually here, said, yeah, some American blokes did it for me. So, yeah, he got those printed and had them shipped over, and apparently it cost about 100 billion Australian dollars
Would have been
to
cheaper
get them here.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so my tanks came on from reserve on a corner near the objective, and there were only fairly light tanks in the way, and not for long. So yeah, I managed to pick an objective over that side, so I got a win. But I mean, it wasn't a walkover. We had a good. The other side, where it was all his armour kicking my infantry, my dug-in British or Australian infantry did good work, and yeah, the 17 25-pounders out of ambush tidied up some of his other stuff. So that was a win for me. Hooray! It was nice.
Question for you, Harry. How did your Crusader tanks actually perform throughout the whole tournament, not just this particular game? Or was it just getting them on was the tricky part?
Yeah, my force means to get 40 points into reserve that isn't just stuck when they come on. So I can't stick like any of the guns in reserve, or I'd need infantry and trucks to be able to move them. So all my tanks ended up off the table. And that's probably not a smart move. That's a list-making error from me. My universal carriers never came out of the bag. I got tanks on here. Did I get any tanks in the game with you, Adam? I don't think they ever came on.
Yeah. Sherman's came on, and then my.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and that's right. And then completely failed
the single remaining 7.5 centimeter half track killed one.
Toasted me up. Yeah.
And then died. And then some Crusaders came on, I think. Yeah.
So how they did, not amazingly well, but some of that was dice rolling.
Yeah.
Because dice rolling.
Well, also, generally they would come in by turn 3. So like,
something would come in. Yeah.
They're not got a lot of time to do stuff.
No, they don't.
So yeah.
So this is my game with Adam. Again, you can see me trying to hold a great deal of the board. So that's my infantry over on that hill in the corner there. The way the fort was set up, the front of the fort there is actually not within my deployment area. So I could deploy on the walls at the side there, but I couldn't deploy at the front. So I had to wait for the game to start to try and run everybody up to the walls of the fort to go, oh my God, man, we weren't looking in that direction. But yeah, my heavy machine guns are actually on the left-hand side of that picture out of shot, again on top of another hill, and that's just nobody's supporting anybody. And as soon as we started playing, I'm looking at it going, none of them can move. They're all there, not supported by anybody else. And the inevitable happened. But that was a really hard-fought battle for that particular hill in that corner there.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I think I had about 3 platoon leader and two or three stands left at the end. On top of the hill, just going, we're surrounded. What do we do? Dig in?
Yep.
I have the hill now. What am I going to do with it? Yeah.
But it was actually textbook. I mean, you moved the infantry up and fired. You moved enough supporting arms up and fired to make sure that I was pinned, and then sent the assault in. And yeah, it was a really nice coordination of the units to watch. So it's like, damn, I'm losing, but it's beautiful to look at.
And I only learned to do that because I had it done to me so many times,
Yeah, it's a trick I'm going to have to learn.
I'll pass it on to you, Harry.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks for that.
Oh,
dear. And yeah, this answers your question about how did my Crusaders do
yes.
when they. So this is me against Mark's US Armoured Infantry again. So just out of shot there's a bunch of M10s with 3-inch guns. There's a bunch of the M27s coming the other side of those woods. And all my armour is coming in from reserve one platoon at a time, one platoon per turn. So it's turning up, having a shot, getting destroyed, then the next one's driving on, having a shot, getting destroyed. Those guys rolled to shoot his M10s, and I mean, 37mm gun against an M10 tank destroyer, not bad. Not if you roll 2 1s and a 2. But we fought that to a bit of a standstill because by turn 6, we were contesting the objective. So he was close enough that he was contesting it, but I still had infantry and gun teams and stuff that were there. So that was really, really hard fought. And as I say, he placed his units beautifully so that he was pushing 80 points of stuff at 12 points of mine, and he had cut off some other guys on the other side of the table. It was really well done. But it does mean I need more mobile stuff. So armoured rifles from the US, they're very mobile. They can get around and do stuff. But yeah, it worked really, really well. And I had a great day. The Crusaders didn't, as you can see. But no one there looked sad. Even me hiding up the back.
Yeah, no, I think we all it was a good event. Everyone had fun, and that's my main aim. Yeah, it's a good day.
Yeah, loved it.
So, Kaiser, you guys don't use a lot of infantry in the Flames of War stuff that you do for your channel, do you? Or have you put more of that on recently?
So the thing about making a battle report that somebody wants to watch is one of the criteria is that the game doesn't go on too long.
And infantry do slow it.
Infantry slow Flames of War down massively. So we generally, maybe one of the sides is infantry.
Yeah.
You know, there might be. I've certainly played like a Panzer Grenadier Company, 1944, doing the Normandy thing. You know, some Pack 40s and a few Stugs and infantry.
Yeah.
Up against a load of tanks with a bit of infantry. But generally speaking, the games that we play are hopefully that we've kind of had a bit of a thought about, is this game going to be interesting to watch? And is it going to be finished in an hour and a half?
Yes.
Oh, I was going to ask how long do you... Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I remember playing a tournament game of one rifle company with artillery versus another rifle company with artillery. And it was just we used to call it Sitzkrieg.
Sitzkrieg.
Yeah.
You'd just be sitting there going, I launched my artillery and I launched my artillery, and no one wants to move out of their foxholes, and it's like, all right, draw it is.
Yeah. And what I hadn't realised at first about Flames of War is, although it has some games which are time limited, most of them are open-ended, which means 10, 10, 15 is a strong possibility. Whereas for people actually being prepared to watch a video, needs to be, you know, an hour and a half tops, but also about 6 turns. Once it gets over that, the game's just dragging. What it means is nobody's got the combat power to finish it. So one of you should just concede and play a new game.
Yeah. I mean, I conceded to Mark in that last one because we were having a look at it and going, 2 turns from now, you will shovel those guys off. I don't have enough stuff coming on that I can hold you off. But yeah, we just went, nope, you have successfully played down that side, and, you know, we could play 2 more turns out, but unless my dice rolling spectacularly improved, there wasn't going to change much. Oh dear. So that was fun. I hope that was a good look at that for everybody who wasn't there. It's a bit weird trying to look at a tournament and, you know, describing how much fun you had to somebody who wasn't there. So hopefully we've done enough to try and make that entertaining. Spammerai is saying, R.I.P. the Crusaders, should have bought more Shermans. Yeah, you know how much those things cost?
Yeah, they're in mid-war. They're really expensive tanks, Shermans.
Yeah. Even in dynamic points, that's still 24 points.
So, I mean, they're 8 points each or something like that. Or...
Yeah.
I tell you what, one thing I have seen in a tournament, and it's more, I guess, more like an organised large battle, which I thought was really good at CanCon at the Nationals every year. A few years ago, they used to have a more like a recreation. So I remember one year they did Tobruk or something, and so basically you'd plan for this, tournaments in January. In February or March or something, the guy who was running this event would start planning it and painting stuff. And if you wanted to play, it was called the historical campaign. He would tell you, you wouldn't bring a list. He'd tell you what you bring. So and you'd bring that, and then you'd kind of recreate Tobruk. So they'd have like a massive table with 6 guys aside, and I've always thought that was really fun.
Yeah,
cool. I tried to do something kind of similar at my first CanCon, and what I did was the first 2 days were games, like tournament games, and the third day was a big battle. But what we did was the third battle of Kharkov, and I kind of had a table sort of shaped up like it was more like a big sort of L-shaped, and people started from different sides and came in. Yeah. And I didn't tell you what to bring. I just said, well, you're going to play the Soviets and the other guy's going to play the Germans. So it's basically Axis versus Allies and kind of making it a theme. And that worked out a really fun game. But I think a better way to do it would be to go, lots of planning and go, right, well, you're going to take this Sherman Company or whatever, the 7th Armoured at Alamein, and you're going to be the 90th Light Division and whatever. And I think that would be a really fun way to do it. You'd have to get lots of guys to buy into it at the start, and then not pull out.
We did play one like that where we had a big table and we were trying to break through because on one of the tables there was some paras who had dropped, and the paras were trying to hold their objective. And if we pushed through the guys on our table, we could then turn up to reinforce the paratroops.
Yeah, and I've seen that sort of
stuff. I got hung up on 188. I couldn't get past an 88 on the table to get my Cromwells past. I should have just booked it past and left it, but I kept trying to assault the bloody thing and take it out.
You'd be amazed how often that actually happened in real life in World War II. That someone would get hung up on an 88 and,
I should have just left it behind. Yeah. Patrick, who's from, was it Switzerland? July 1st, I'm going to a tournament again. Looking forward to every tournament I can go to. Yep. Our next one is going to be Team Yankee sometime later in the year, isn't it, Adam?
Yeah, Nordic Forces-ish. After Nordic Forces is released, which I think
you mean
July.
that?
Yeah, that.
So, upcoming S-Tank release.
Yeah.
I think that's just what
Centurions,
they should call it,
the S-Tank release,
Yeah, because I think that's what most people are interested in. The amount of Swedish armies I think that they're going to sell is going to be amazing.
It's going to be ludicrous.
Yeah.
Did you know? Sorry to interrupt there. Did you notice when they announced this that the army box is going to be a limited run?
No, I didn't notice that.
No.
And maybe on a poster or flyer they sent us, because we retailers, we resell. We've got a web store on.
Yeah.
This was billed as a limited run, not the S-Tank, but the actual the starter box.
Swedish one.
Yeah. There's like, I don't know, 11 S-Tanks and a couple of Jeeps or something.
Yeah, it's the army box for
the army
S-Tanks.
box.
Yeah, there is an
just
S-Tank
the Swedish
battalion.
one, or all of the starter boxes for all.
It's only going to have Swedish unit cards in it, I think. So you'll still be able to buy an S-Tank. You just won't be able to buy the Swedish starter army.
No, I mean, so you said is the Swedish one, the Swedish army box specifically a limited run, or are all the starter boxes for like Norway?
There are no other starter boxes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There's only the one.
Well, I mean, there may be more coming
that we've seen. Yeah.
But we've been taking pre-orders.
Yeah.
There's a starter army box, and it's just got S-Tanks and a few Jeeps, I think. And it's marked as limited edition.
Yeah.
There you go.
So,
I didn't know that.
I must admit I haven't actually had a really good look. The PDF arrived while we were in the middle of tournamenting, and I must actually go and have a bit of a look and see what's there. I'm
simply saying that because anyone's really fizzy about getting that Swedish starter army, they probably want to pre-order
need to get in and
it'll be one and done.
Yeah. So we're actually having a live stream about that on Friday, 30th of June. So this one is a bit later than normal because of the tournament. The next one is going to be a bit earlier because that's the day the embargo lifts. So that's actually the first day we're allowed to talk about it, I believe.
It's the Swedish. So it's the Swedish S-Tank company starter force,
Yep.
and in Australia, it's 193.50.
Yeah, the good old
Trying to-
Pacific peso.
I'm trying to find. I've got a picture of it here. I can't show you. So it comes with 1, 2, 3, 4.
Is it
5,
is it got
6,
resin? Why is it so expensive?
Because it's Australian dollar.
Australia. Yeah.
I thought the Berlin ones weren't that expensive, were they?
We've had a price rise since then, haven't we?
Have we?
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure it was the same price in the UK as all the others.
No,
It does have less in it.
They base it off as if the Australian dollar's worth twice the UK pound, and sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. So, but yeah, it comes with 8 S-Tanks, 3 of their weird Jeeps with a tow launcher.
The thingy
And
Vogel,
2
what's it? Yep.
And 2 Swedish helicopters, which are basically the German helicopters.
The BO 105. Yep.
Yeah. That's a lot of money for 8
Not much.
tanks, 2 helicopters, and 3.
And it's all plastic.
Yep, it's all plastic.
The Jeeps will be resin, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Actually,
But-
yeah, you're probably right.
But it looks like a platoon for the Swedish is 3 tanks.
Yeah.
So interesting. Good to know. Thank you.
Alrighty, so what do we got? Trekan saying narrative campaigns are great, but you need a game master, and I don't think that's something for a tournament.
You can so the tournament we do it in Australia for the nationals. It's only at the nationals and only at KingCon. That's 3 days, so it's a 3-day event, and he's the GM. He might play as well, but yeah, you can do it. I've seen it done, but it requires a lot of organisation and someone that knows what they're doing.
Harry to do light reading for the 30th and Swedish. I can't learn Swedish by the 30th. Sorry. I have a hard enough time hurting Trekan with butchering all the German if I don't practice it first. Anyway, guys, so that's probably us done. Thank you very much to the Restless Kaiser for coming on. We've been trying to get you on for ages to, introduce you to everybody, and just because you're a fun guy to have on the show. To return the favour for all the times you've had me up at 4:30 in the morning to come on the UK live stream.
You're asking a lot less of me than I ask of you when you come on mine.
Yep, absolutely. But no, I'm delighted you could come. I'm sorry it's been a little bit kind of, tournament stuff.
It was nice to talk to the guys. And I got some
got some
green
painting
webbing
done.
done.
Excellent.
Nice.
The backpacks and the ammo pouches.
What's that for? Is that British or?
Yeah, British Flames of War.
Yeah.
Nice.
Excellent.
Yeah. When Harry was saying don't use much infantry, the British Army that I painted for John, I hadn't done the infantry. I need my reading glasses to be seeing things like webbing now. I'm getting old. I'm getting old.
Oh, hey, how many knees did I paint in the last 3 or 4 weeks?
Oh, with the desert
Brits,
guys.
Bloody knees, yeah.
Are they still in soft plastic? Oh, you've got the old ones anyway.
Yeah.
You did these years ago.
Yeah. No, the British desert guys are in soft plastic still.
Yeah, they're still in flexible plastic. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I wonder, are any of the new infantry for Team Yankee metal, or they're all soft plastic? I think they're that
Siocast.
Yeah.
The new VDV box was all metal.
Yeah, the VDV were all metal.
That was a bit of an odd. And I don't know whether that was limited or whether it's just sold out.
That was the factory is busy doing all the stuff for Berlin German. Yeah. They couldn't get the time on the Siocast machines so they just did metal, which a lot of people were, pardon me, very happy about.
Yeah. It was that one was more expensive than the normal box, but it had those lovely extra pieces in the McDonald's sign and all.
Yeah.
It was nice.
And that little limited command stand, which I thought was great.
Which is the three
Yeah.
guys from the movie.
Yeah.
Must actually dig that out. It's in that box somewhere.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thank you very, very much. And thank you to everybody who's been commenting away. One of the reasons we do the live streams is because we just love the fact that, I mean, the last live stream we did ran for ages because everybody in the comments kept saying interesting things, damn you. And we had to keep sort of responding to stuff, and it took us down all sorts of very interesting rabbit holes, which is why we kind of like to do this. But yeah, so thank you. It's Nordic Forces on the 30th, which is back on a Friday and back in our standard time slot of 7 p.m. Australian Western Standard Time. All right. Christian, I believe you're not going to be here for that one.
No.
But we might have a couple of ringers in.
I've roped one very, very good Australian Team Yankee player in, so he should have lots.
Oh, and I have
Lots
roped
to
in a local Swedish player who can actually come
Oh,
on
you
and
have?
talk about. Yes.
You
Yeah, that actually worked this week. I managed to get that all happening. So
good.
we should have a full house again for the 30th.
Oh, good.
So we will miss you, Christian. I know you were worried that we were busy replacing you with, you know, an inflatable
Don't
sex
replace me
dolly
too
or something.
soon, all right?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you very, very much for coming along, and we will see you all next time. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
See you guys.